Welcome back to the channel, Little Flexers. Thank you so much for clicking on today's video. My name is JW Kriwal, aka Flex Daddy, and this is the best place to be to learn about the Pokemon TCG and have some fun along the way. Now, today's video is a recap of my 2024-2025 season. Unfortunately, I did not meet my goal of making it to the World Championships. I did not qualify. The top 125 players in North America made it, and I finished around 200-ish. My final point total was 627, and the threshold to make Worlds was 700. So I fell short, and as you may have caught from the title, I was one game away. Now, that is not like something that makes me necessarily feel much better about my performance. But it just, what I want to emphasize here, and this is not like a cope for myself, because I didn't make it, and I've accepted that fact. There's been many years, I've been playing the game for 15 years, been many years where I haven't made it. And in fact, I've been much closer and didn't make it. One year I missed by 3 points, and that was a year that I won a regional. So, I know plenty about coming up just short, and that's just part of the game, and frankly, that's just part of life. But again, not a cope, not something to make me feel better, just to say that it just didn't happen. And again, from the thumbnail, obviously this is going to get you to click on the video, and if you're here, please make sure to like and subscribe if you're enjoying this content. But it's to say that I was one game away. Like, the margins are so razor thin at tournaments these days that one game in the right position could make or break an entire season. Now, my one game happened to be very early on in the season, and we'll cover that just here in a second. But, it was such a major swing from winning a final round to put me into a top 8 versus losing, bumping me all the way down into a top 64, and then really having pretty mid finishes throughout the season. Now, there are some ways that you can mitigate in a season, pretty average performances. You can obviously attend more tournaments. In the 2024-2025 season, I attended exactly 5 majors. That's it. I attended exactly 4 cups. That's not like in a quarter. That's for the entire year. Managed to get some solid points there. And then I attended 5 challenges, maybe 6 challenges. Again, throughout the entire year. So yeah, I'm a dad, right? I'm a dad of 2, and any time that I can get off to go, hang out with the fam, I'm going to try to do that while also keeping this competitive Pokemon dream alive. So let's get into kind of a recap of the tournaments. I'll show you what we're working with here. What I hope this will do is be instructive to you. If you are someone who, last year got an invite, or last year you were picking up the game at a competitive level, and you're thinking about what, do I need to do for this year? Like, I'm a pretty good player. What do I need to do? This isn't quite this video because I didn't make it, but it kind of shows, okay, here is the bare minimum that you need to achieve. And yeah, I came very, very close doing pretty much the bare minimum for me. I wasn't able to travel to more than 3 regionals and 2 ICs. Now, I chose the ICs because obviously, they're major events. They award more prizing. They award more championship points. And they're just in really fun locations. So I was able to go to 2 of those. And then I was able to attend 3 regionals throughout, again, the entire season in North America here. And so, when I look back on the season, would I have liked to play more? Yes. Obviously, the more tournaments you play, the more you can mitigate kind of bad performances. And I had pretty middling performances throughout the entire year. Unfortunately, didn't cash one time throughout the entire year. So 5 tournaments, no cash. That's, unfortunate, right? That's kind of a hitting on the low end. But I think there's a number of reasons for that, and I think we'll cover that in the video. I also want to talk about in a future video, so look out for this. Make sure to subscribe if you're interested in this kind of content, what I would change about my season moving forward, and what techniques I'm going to implement for next season to try to, just increase the win rates and turn some day 2s that I had into conversions into cash and top 8s, and hopefully a win next year. So let's start it out here in Baltimore. The Baltimore Regional Championships, I went 10-3, as you can see. By the way, this is my app, trainingcourt.app. You can download it and check it out for yourself. Well, download it. It's a web app, so maybe we'll have an app coming for your phone soon. But this is a site that I created. Please make sure to check it out and give me some feedback, because we're always constantly improving it. And we're bringing on more team members, actually, to make the site even bigger and better. But a great way to track your tournaments throughout the year. And so I would highly recommend trainingcourt.app. If we come in here to Baltimore Regionals, I mean, you see a lot of green, couple of L's here. And then this was the big kicker here, the round 13. Played against Rowan Stabenow, who has just had my number in the post-pandemic game. He's beat me like, there was one like Peoria in 2023. He beat me, but it didn't really matter. I can't remember if he maybe like even scooped me into cut. I can't quite remember. He beat me pretty soundly. Maybe we kept that. And then it didn't end up mattering. We both ended up top 4, but we were on other sides of the bracket. He beats me later in the season. We can talk about that a little bit too. But then here at Baltimore, this was a killer. This was the one game that defined, really my whole season, where I get to a round 13. I sit down against Rowan. It's I would say slightly favorable matchup. Some estimates have it at like, a 55-45. You could maybe push that to 60-40 in favor of Lugia. But unfortunately, I was only able to, in both games, get out one Archeops, and he was able to Gust kill it, I think, on that following turn with his Dragapult. What did I say? Regidrago deck, right? So pretty unfortunate couple of games there for me. But anyway, what happened there was, if I win that game, I am in top 8, and I ended up losing, and I fell all the way to top 64. Pretty unfortunate. But the big kicker there is that in regionals, top 64 is 100 points. Okay. That's what I had. I finished with, again, 627. Top 8, 280 points. So that swing is like enormous, right? The thing I want to impress on you as a player is not only is every single round and every single game important, but especially the games that, you're in contention. The longer you're in contention, the more important the games become. Right? Because you never know when you're going to get that next chance to make a deep run. And I would say, here in Baltimore, I'm feeling pretty good. Obviously took a couple losses earlier in day 1, but I was feeling great day 2. And then, I go 3-1 in day 2 and top 64. And that's a pretty disappointing finish for me. I'm at least thinking, okay, I can, squeak in a top 32, get some cash, and kind of like build that momentum for the next tournament, but end up losing that one, fall to top 64. And yeah, again, that point total, to kind of fulfill the clickbait title, that point total was the difference in the season. Obviously retroactively, you could say that, that would never, like, you would make different decisions if you had different, if you had a top 8 earlier in the whatever. Okay. I don't care. It really doesn't matter to me. But, had I won that game, I'd be in a much better position for the rest of the season. So let's take a look here at the other regionals. Toronto Regionals, played Dragapult Iron Thorns. Not my best finish. I barely squeaked by. There was a round that we had just a really ugly gentleman's agreement. I talked about that in one of my prior videos. And then day 2 was pretty much a wash for me. And that's going to happen. I think this was mostly due to the deck choice and not necessarily due to my play. I felt like by and large, my play has been pretty good. I mean, since last season, I felt on top of my game, and that's kind of what drives me to keep playing. If I felt like I was really falling off, then I wouldn't put as much time and effort into the game as I do. But I do feel like there's still plenty more I can give to the game. And unfortunately, I think my deck choice kind of held me back here. Moving on to Atlanta, this was in April. This was a tournament I felt pretty good about. I felt good about Goldango. I had played Goldango at NAIC last season and made day 2 there. So coming here, I just really got throttled. You see 3 losses to Dragapult. Badu was not a card that my list was particularly strong against. I could get around it, but it was a struggle, as you can see. So unfortunately, I played not the greatest into the Dragapult decks, and my deck didn't help me out that much. A couple of these were just two dead draws into Badulak into game. But I, beat a lot of good matchups here, right? I beat the Guardies and Goldengos that I saw, which is good. If I can get another win or two against a Dragapult deck, we maybe have a different result, but this is what happened. Unfortunate for me. And another day 2 that was down the drain, as it were. So in the regionals, I did make day 2 at all 3 regionals. Again, very consistent. But if we look at the finishes, top 128, top 128, top 64, and that just isn't, I'm not necessarily proud of the finishes, but I am happy that I was, consistently making day 2s. I just wasn't able to convert. And that's a big theme. If you are looking to play competitively and you want to grind for a Worlds invite, it's like really important that not only are you making day 2, but you're converting those day 2 finishes at least into cash, right? Variance obviously plays a role, matchups play a role, but if you're going into day 2, you want to be cashing those tournaments and not coming away with, a booster box or half a booster box like I was pretty much for the entirety of the season. That's just not going to cut it. And that is, not the standard that I hold myself to, right? At every tournament, obviously I want to win, but realistically, every tournament, I fully believe, like, with the preparation that I do for a lot of these tournaments, like I want to cash. And that's a very realistic goal for top end players. If I could cash every event that I go to without ever winning another one, I think I'm going to be in a good spot. So you'll also notice that I play 3 different decks. This is something that I want to change for next season. I'll talk about that. And if we go into the ICs, I played 5 different decks on the year for the majors. This is something that I want to work on for next season. I'll talk about that in a future video. So make sure you're subscribed, etc. for that. But EUIC, I also lost in day 2 to, you guessed it, Rowan Stabenow with the Guardy deck. Had some, frankly, I really remember this match because there were some extremely unfortunate events that occurred that caused me to lose game 1. I was like 1 Pokemon off from getting a knockout off of one of his misplays. But the most unfortunate thing was he played 1 boss and he gusted my only Iron Hands. And it made it so I couldn't get a knockout. It was just really, really awkward and very unfortunate. I had some weird prizing, and I think he started Klefki in both games. So it was just a lot of things went wrong in this round, and unfortunately Rowan got me again, and that set me on a pretty unfortunate path here for the rest of day 2. If we come back to the other IC that I played, this was, I got myself to a position at NAIC where if I get a top 64 finish, I think I just needed to cash at NAIC, then I put myself in Worlds contention. I get over 700 points. Unfortunately, that didn't come to be. 5-3-1 and really just flamed out around round 6, I believe, round 7. I got my second loss. So pretty unfortunate there as well. So, all in all, I cut 4, I day 2'd 4 out of the 5 majors that I attended. That's a really good ratio, generally speaking. Obviously wish it had gone different in NAIC, and obviously wish I could convert. And then, a lot of these day 2s just didn't really pan out into much of anything. I ended up with pretty middling records in day 2, which is something that I'm going to look to be working on. So if you want to hear exactly my plans for next season, please make sure to follow up, like, and subscribe the video so you'll get notified. Hit the notification bell for that video when that comes out. But looking to be doing about the same level of commitment for 2025-26. And you can follow along with that journey here on this channel. So if that was interesting to you, again, like and subscribe. That's all I got for you today. God bless. If I don't see you soon, I'll see you later. And remember, good luck and also have fun.